Welcome to Season 7 of Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. In this show, we talk to leaders of clubs and interesting folks who live in and around the villages. We also talk to people who have information vital to seniors. You will get perspectives of what is happening in the Villages, Florida area. We are a listener-supported podcast. There will be shout-outs for supporters.
This is Mike Roth on Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. I'm here today with Lisa Ellis. Lisa, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Mike.
Lisa's an author, as well as having a background as an entrepreneur and a real estate investor. And she's going to be talking today about her book called Rising After Cancer. Now, Lisa comes from a background where she, worked in a company in finance.
I did international corporate finance. I say that was my prior life.
Your prior life, okay. And when did you become an entrepreneur?
Probably right around 2003, actually, if I had to do a definitive point in time. And I had just decided, I thought, okay, I don't want somebody else to have control over my future. I want to be in the driver's seat, and how can I accomplish that? So in 2003, that's what I decided to do, is basically branch out, become an entrepreneur. And my first dip in the pool of entrepreneurship was actually a consulting business. So I consulted small businesses in a variety of different things, primarily centered around like accounting software and systems of that nature.
Okay, stuff you had learned in your prior life.
Exactly.
A lot of people do that. And why do you decide to write this book, Rising After Cancer?
I actually decided to write it because I had thought I had this picture perfect life going. So essentially, my husband and I had just built our dream house. It was March of 2024. And we thought, okay, everything's coming together. This is the best moment. We've got the new house. We've got our other house sold and under contract. Everything's going well. And then all of a sudden, I got diagnosed with cancer. And that was basically like a week after we had just moved into our new house. So I'm thinking, okay, this really knocked me for a loop, and there have to be other people out there who feel the same way that I do.
What symptoms did you have that led you to being diagnosed?
Actually, it's funny because I had just weird random symptoms. So I'd been trying to exercise more, lose weight, all of those things. And I had some groin pain and some numbness. And I thought, oh, maybe a hernia, maybe something of that nature. And I just started going down this testing path to figure out what it was. And you can imagine cancer hit me straight through the heart. It was a very difficult diagnosis and certainly something I did not expect.
How long did that diagnosis take?
From start to finish, probably like 2.5 months.
Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah. And you what type of cancer was it?
It's in the endometrial family. So it's an endometrial cancer, which is a gynecological cancer. It has a huge name, which is endometrial edema carcinoma. And it's usually older ladies who get that diagnosis. So I was not a typical patient for my surgeon and my surgical team.
Do you think that helped you in your recovery being younger?
Maybe a little bit. I think just having okay, I have so much life still to live and so many things I still want to accomplish. I'm not going to accept defeat and just move through the process, figure out what I need to do to get back to being healthy, and then really realizing how many parts of my life were impacted in ways that I hadn't imagined.
So what kind of treatment did they give you?
I actually had a couple of options. They say you can have chemo, you can do targeted immunotherapy, and you can also do surgical. They give you the background information on that, and then reading material. And then from that, they say, okay, what are you leaning to? And once you make that decision, then they go with, okay, here's what's going to happen as a result of that. And one of the things that came up during that whole time was just the fact that I didn't really consider how many religious implications and things like that came up. So that was something that was new for me. And it was actually one of the first questions that my doctors had asked with these options. Are there any religious beliefs that you hold that would say that you cannot have this type of treatment? So that was something I wasn't expecting or prepared for.
Were there religious beliefs that got in the way of your treatment?
Not in my case, actually. I just figured I probably wanted to heal, and I thought God's on my side with healing, so I'm just going to go is on my heart and what's the best course for me.
So what course did you pursue?
I did surgical.
Surgical?
Yes. And what that entails is you get prepped for surgery. You have a lot of the surgical pre-requirements. So heart checks, a bunch of testing. And then they basically tell you that the treatment for mine was full hysterectomy, which I don't know if that's PC to talk about, but that's what the treatment was. And then they do node mapping, which basically is they take some of your lymph nodes. And the reason that they're doing that is they're trying to figure out how far the cancer has penetrated and what stage you are. So they stage you out at that point too. And then that determines if you need to research chemotherapy or immunotherapy.
So what stage were you at?
I was a 1. Thankfully,
Really?
it was super fast and super early. And even just like getting into that a little bit. So with the move and my husband and I building our new house, I didn't have any doctors up here. So it was really like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But fortunately, everything lined up. And from the time that I got the call saying I had cancer to the time that I had surgery was only like 2.5 weeks. So it was really fast.
And where did you have your surgery?
In Orlando.
Okay, good. And you have a mindset of humor that helped you in the healing process. Can you explain that for our listeners?
Yes, I like to be lighthearted and not take life too seriously. So one of the things that happens is you start to notice all the funny little quirky things around you, and you start to lean into those and just basically say, okay, this really stinks that I have cancer and my mind, body, spirit are totally divergent right now. They're not on the same page. So how can I use humor to bring those things back together? And so my husband was a big part of this. My friends were as well. And I would just look for funny, stupid little things that would make me laugh. And one very tangible incident was I told my sister, I've lived this amazingly safe life. I'm not really a drinker, never smoked, never tried drugs, any of that stuff. And I said to my sister, I'm throwing caution to the wind. And she's, oh, okay, what does that look like? And I said, I think I'm going to pick up skydiving. And my sister said, wait a second, you're afraid of heights, right? And I said, yeah, that's still true. And she said, okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to have Carl, who is my husband, just start by pushing you off the bed and see how you feel about falling from that height before you take it to the next level and just move up from there. And just that like stupid banter made me laugh so hard. And I'm only like, at this point, less than a day post-op. So my stomach hurts and just everything hurts and is swollen. And I'm laughing so hard that I can't breathe. So I thought, I really need to focus on more moments like that and not be so consumed with death or so consumed with a diagnosis that you forget, hey, I'm still here. There's still life. And that's actually a big part of the reason that I wrote my book. Because in Rising After Cancer, you're really like, for so many instances in the treatment process. And even now, as I go through and get my screenings and my periodic checkups, you're so focused on death. You're literally like surrounded by it that it's easy to just fall into that and just shrink and say, okay, I can't travel anymore. I can't take the flights I want to do because I can't be 10 hours away from my doctor. You actually can. And so I, in talking with other ladies that had similar forms of cancer, had really listened to how many of them did the same thing. and they were just petrified about recurrence and being afraid and saying it felt like that was a death sentence and that was game over. And I want people who are maybe going through the treatment process and maybe not through it quite yet to realize there is life on the other side and there are still things you can do. And really, it's your choice to go out and do those things.
It's interesting about humor and recovery because my brother went through treatment for a rare blood cancer.
Wow.
And he had to have a bone marrow transplant. At first, he asked me if I wanted to donate, and it turned out I wasn't compatible. His son was. And he had a very long recovery and isolation. And every day he was in isolation, I would send him a joke or a funny pun to brighten up his day.
And I think that's so important because you just forget. You forget that there's still things that are funny. And even one of the things that my husband had told me when I came out of surgery, I'm notoriously cold. So anytime you see me if the temperature drops below 70, I'm going to have a jacket. My gloves are going to be somewhere nearby. And it's just this funny thing. And he said, literally, when you came out of surgery, you're wrapped up and you're totally in these blankets and you're just covered. And he said, I thought, why are your teeth chattering? I couldn't even find you in all these blankets. And that was really a funny moment because I'm like, okay, that's so me. And I'm still here. And that was just insightful for me to say, okay, I need to really look at the humorous moments. And I'm sure your brother appreciated that as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he still does. And he's probably 4 or 5 years post-bone marrow transplant.
Wow.
Very well. Now, how did your cancer diagnosis affect your spouse, family, friends?
Really, it was strange because I don't think you realize how much it does affect the people around you because you have this weird thing where you have the diagnosis and it's almost like you don't want to talk to anybody about it. So the people who knew I was having testing, I just think I sent them a text with basically probably a couple of colorful words in it and just said, I have cancer. I don't want to talk about it. And I just put those out there. And then it was a weird thing because you don't really realize, like my spouse, he was being strong for me. And the people around me are being strong for me because they don't want you to know they're freaking out with you. They want you to think, okay, this is no big deal. And they're trying to basically keep you in that frame of mind. Oh, it's no big deal. It's just routine. I'm going to get through this and it's going to be fine. And then at the same time, they're doing things that are enriching your life. Basically, can I get you anything? Do you want me to come and sit with you? Can I cook dinner for you? And it's overwhelming a little bit, but it's also very nice. And you don't realize how engaged they are in helping you heal.
Do you have a fear of the cancer recurring?
Absolutely. And as I went through writing Rising After Cancer, I realized and read a statistic that basically 59% of the people who have cancer fear reoccurrence, and it's very normal. So you'll do something silly like cough or you feel a new pain and you're like, oh my God, is that the cancer coming back? Should I be worried about that? Do I need to schedule an appointment? And then you go, oh, no, I did try a new Pilates move or I started lifting weights, so it's probably nothing. But in the back of your head, it's always there. And I'm basically a year and a half post the treatment, heavy treatment phase. So I'm in where you have that follow-up appointments and things like that. But I have a total of 5 years of that.
Mhm.
So for the next 5 years, you still get that jarring where you go back in and you're doing these tests and you're like, oh, I just want to forget about that.
So how do you move on from the fear?
Really, I don't want to say distractions, but that's the easiest way to do it is I started out distracting myself by getting really engaged in other stuff I was doing. So my husband and I do real estate investing and just throwing yourself into that. And then you realize, okay, in the back of my head, in the quiet times, that feeling or fear of reoccurrence, it's actually still there and still very active. So when that comes up, you just have to call it out and say what it is. Okay, I'm having this test and I'm afraid of the results. Okay, accept that you feel that way and say, I know what I have to do if the results come back bad. And then you actually go out and you do that thing. So you go from fear to working the scenarios to being okay with those scenarios. And then you definitely have to do your part. So by that, do what your doctors tell you. Listen to your body, eat better, lose weight. So one of the things that my doctor had told me that was very...
Let's take a break here and listen to a short Alzheimer's tip from Dr. Craig Curtis.
Let's take a quick break.
Have you heard about Mature Adults with Donna Hoover and Mike Roth? Yes, this is my second podcast, and Donna and I are going to be addressing subjects which are significant for seniors, especially seniors living here in the villages. The easiest way to hear the show is to look it up on Apple Podcasts. Look for Mature Adults with Donna and Mike. We'll be looking for you there. You can also find us on Mature Adults with Donna and Mike, all spelled out, @buzzsprout.com.
We now know that Alzheimer's disease starts about 20 years before the symptoms, with the buildup of a toxic protein called amyloid. And so scientists have been on a quest to remove amyloid to see how it affects the disease. The medicine that was recently FDA approved to slow down symptoms in people with Alzheimer's disease memory problems works by removing this substance called amyloid out of the brain. And now we're attempting to use those medicines to actually remove amyloid before someone develops symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, such as memory loss and forgetfulness.
So that's in that 20-year period before the disease is obvious?
That's right. Scientists now call it Alzheimer's pathologic change versus Alzheimer's disease. And we're saving the term Alzheimer's disease for when someone is actually experiencing symptoms due to Alzheimer's disease.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the village's community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Curtis. Lisa, you were talking about eating right.
Yes.
How did you change your eating habits since you've been in recovery?
One of the warning things that my doctor said, and I just asked him finally, what's the chance of this coming back? And he said, the biggest thing is lose weight and stay away from soy. And I said, why lose weight? And he said, the cancer you have, it loves fat. It loves all of those bad things. So the heavier that you are, the more chance you're going to have of reoccurrence. For me, I grew up as a beefy kid, and I would still say I'm on the heavier side.
But you're on the taller side.
Yes, I am tall, although I'm the runt in my family, but I am the taller, I would say, than an average person. I just made a lot of small changes because I've been on every diet you can imagine. You name one, I've been on it. And
You've been on the Mediterranean diet.
I have been.
Did you try the Mind diet?
No, I haven't heard of that one. No, you threw me for a loop on that one, but
Okay.
Paleo, Whole30, South Beach, all of those. And what I've found just about myself and my personality is anytime you say, okay, this is the last time you're going to eat whatever, that doesn't really work for me. So I'm not going to stick with that. And I'm going to have the cookie or I'm going to eat pasta. So what I really started to do was, first, I didn't do anything with soy. So if I'm eating, I took out everything that had soy.
Why soy?
My doctor had told me that because my cancer was hormonally positive, that soy can have a negative effect on your hormones. So he just said, stay away from it, and that is going to help you out quite a bit. And then I did give up fast food. So I don't eat any fast food. I gave up things like, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I'm a big Friday night fish fry girl. I don't do that as much. Instead of every week, maybe once a quarter or something like that.
So you're eating healthier.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, but you haven't turned into a vegetarian.
No, I still eat meat, but now it's higher quality, I would say. I pay attention to how it's grown. Is it pasture raised? Is it free range, organic? All of those sorts of things. And then I've also limited like how much red meat I eat. So I might only eat that once a week. So it's just a variety, but minimally processed. So I'm never buying anything prepackaged or pre-prepared, pretty much sticking to that rule where you're just in the outside external areas of the supermarket.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Now tell the listeners a little bit about your book, Rising After Cancer. When is that going to be available?
It's actually available now. So it came out in the paperback version on Black Friday, which was nice. It talks a lot about some of the techniques that I use to get past the fear of reoccurrence and even do some things that I wanted to be able to do and how to make it better, feeling like healing your mind, your body, and your spirit, but then also really getting back into a flow where you're connected with life and engaged in creating a life that you actually want to create instead of going backwards and just saying, okay, now I've got to downgrade because everything's about my diagnosis and everything's about my health.
So what were the positive changes that you made?
I actually started to do a lot of travel, things that were on my bucket list that I was afraid to do. For example, I missed an international trip to Barcelona. So we were supposed to go. I actually canceled and said, I don't want to do that because I can't be more than 10 hours away from my doctor. It just freaks me out too much. But this past summer, we went sailing in Croatia. And the way I was able to deal with that was just basically say, okay, what's making me nervous? And one of the things was, yes, I'm away from my doctors. My insurance in the United States doesn't translate to Croatia, and just being nervous about having so many flights. So I started to dig into that and say, what could I do to make that better?
And what'd you do?
I actually bought international health insurance. So you can buy it. I used an app called Freely, but there are a lot of different apps out there that pretty much do similar things, and looked at the policies and just really thought, okay, what's going to make me feel more comfortable? And then I just bought that health insurance policy. And I'm like, okay, that'll make me feel a lot more comfortable. And trip insurance in case something went wrong. And also things like, because of my lymph nodes being removed, I'm technically immunocompromised, and being in that tight space freaked me out a little bit with all those different microbes and bacteria. So I went to my general physician and just basically said, hey, these are the countries I'm traveling to. Can you write prescriptions for me for things that I might run into? And then I got those prescriptions filled before. So if I did have issues, I was prepared to take care of them instead of scrambling after the fact.
My wife and I just came back from a Mediterranean set of cruises in and out of Barcelona.
Oh, nice.
And my doctor prescribed antibiotics for both of us and flu shots before we left, and said that COVID wasn't so bad this year, more like a common cold. Don't bother with that one. But make sure you have the RSV shot. And I guess it was whooping cough.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that one.
I had to have a booster for whooping cough.
Wow.
So your book is available now as a paperback.
It is?
Okay. Is it available as a Kindle book?
It is. I do have it as an ebook right now. And that was actually available first. So that was available about a week before the paperback version.
Okay. You're thinking about turning it into an audiobook?
I have thought about that, but I haven't actively pursued that yet. So that is something that could be on the table.
Good. And if people want to ask you a question after the show or contact you, how should they do that?
They can actually do it through my email, which is just boundlessquill@gmail.com.
Spell that out for our listeners.
It's BOUNDLESSQWIL@gmail.com.
Lisa, knowing what you know today, what would you tell a 22-year-old Lisa?
I would probably say start on the healthy stuff sooner. But aside from that, I would say to always pursue your passions and let everything else be secondary to that. So create the life that you want to live and go out there and just go for it. You only get one opportunity. Don't let the little adversities in life knock you off the rails so bad that you forget who you are at your core.
Is there one turning point in your past life that you would wish you would have taken the other road?
Maybe. And that sounds like a gray area, but I had gotten a master's degree. So my master's degree is actually in international corporate finance. That was my emphasis. I don't know that I would have taken that same path now. I think a primary motivator for me to take my MBA was I thought, okay, if I have this, you'll never be laid off. You'll never run into those kinds of issues. And that's just not accurate. So I would probably investigate that maybe a little bit more than what I did previously.
Your advice to your 22-year-old self would have been, don't bother with the MBA.
I think education is good. I'm a big advocate for education, so don't get me wrong on that perspective, but more like the achievement of that degree isn't as critical as I thought it would be. So I think there are other things that you can do to gain experience, which make you have similar or same outcomes without the price tag of a master's degree, if that makes sense.
Master's degree carried a price tag in both time, effort, money.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense for a lot of people.
No. And I just think of the missed opportunities that you have when you do dedicate yourself to something like that.
You got a narrow focus.
Right. Absolutely.
So is there anything that you can tell our listeners that would make them want to go out to Amazon and get a copy of your book?
Oh, actually, it's funny because I would say that it's a good read. It's short, which people always like short reads. So it takes about an hour to read it, but it has some good tips. And even if you are not a cancer patient, but you survive something life-threatening, a heart attack, a critical injury from a car accident or something of that nature, or know somebody who has, I think it's helpful in that respect that you would be able to get some information which can maybe help you change your focus and really get out of the zone of being, I don't want to say a victim, but that's the only word that comes to mind. So whatever happens to you, I'm a big believer now that it actually happens for you. So there's something you're supposed to learn from that. And I think rising after cancer would help you get to that point where you lose the black cloud and start living again and get out there and get back to being you.
Great. Thanks for being with us today, Lisa.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Mike Roth. Listeners, I'm thrilled to share with you this podcast, which is my passion project to bring knowledge, inspiration, and things you need to know about the villages and the people living here. Be sure to hit the follow button to get the newest episode each week. Or you can hit the purple supporter box. Even a small donation of $3 to $10 a month makes a big difference. And you can cancel your subscription at any time. Your support means the world to us. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep those headphones on.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout-out for supporters, Tweet Coleman, Ed Williams, Dwayne Romick, Paul Sorgan, and Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. The way our show grows is with your help. Text your friends about this show. If you enjoyed listening, or just tell your friends, we thank everyone for listening. The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2025, all rights reserved.